Okay, so today, this guided meditation is going to be a little bit different than the usual guided meditations. This is going to be more a talk about how to create conditions of no escape for the ego, and what is essentially needed to kind of create your own retreat, your own meditation retreat. And this is a retreat to bring about the end of seeking, to realize who is seeking. What conditions are needed, to bring about that awakening to your true nature. And we're going to go into it during this hour. But there's only so much we can do in 1 hour. This is something that you will have to implement on your own. So you'll have to, if you really want to go into it, it's like what we do at the Samadhi Center. You set aside a period of time. I would suggest at least 3 days, and during those 3 days, there's a process that unfolds within the self structure. You could say you're loosening the knots of the ego. There's a freeing of samskaras, you could say. And of course, awareness, your true nature, needs no development process. It needs no process whatsoever to be what it is. So, the awakening, the awareness, the realization of what we are, there's a sense that we've always been that. It's only the mind, it's only the illusory mind or the conditioned mind that needs a process. Awareness needs no process. And the deeper we go into self-inquiry, the more this becomes apparent. There's this apparent paradox to this process. So we want to take some time, shut out all distractions during the period that you're going to engage in self-inquiry. Prior to that, you want to take care of any business, anything that might come up during those 3 days or week or however long you set aside. Prepare any food, keep the food really simple. Just get something that will support the body. Don't worry about tasty food. A big pot of soup or something like that can be great eat it for 3 days. It has everything you need in it. Obviously, turn off all phones, devices. So you're creating an outer structure to support this inner journey. I'm going to talk about creating conditions of no escape just on your own. But self-inquiry can be done solo, which is essentially meditation, which is what I'll be talking about. But it can also be done in pairs. People doing it in dyads can be extremely powerful. If you can find someone to do this process with you, one person can be a witness, the other doing the inquiry. I'm going to be putting out a new video soon about doing self-inquiry with a partner. It's a very fast accelerator for the process. It can also be done in a group as well, where the group is focused on one person at a time doing the inquiry. So it doesn't really matter, how you do it, but the conditions are essentially the same. So what happens when we turn consciousness toward itself? we become aware of awareness. So in Taoism, they say there's something called Gidan, which is a kind of internal pressure starts to arise. Internal pressure starts to arise. So you could call this internal pressure, energy. It's the energy that was going into the conditioned self. The conditioned energy starts to become more and more present. So we want to, through this entire process, be aware of that internal pressure. We want to let that grow continuously. There's a sort of, you could say, like an inner alchemy that happens in this process. This energy builds, and we want to stay in this practice continuously. We don't want to break that energy. The energy is literally coming out of the conditioned patterns, the nadis, the neural pathways. It's coming out on the physical level, the energetic, even the spiritual level. There's a kind of different energies, different levels of subtlety to this energy. As this energy builds, the awakening is, it's a waking up, but it's also an energetic event. There's a flip that happens where the sense of I that was identified with this conditioned self it awakens to an unlimited sense of I. The sense of I becomes freed from that limitation to the conditioned self. So we want to go into continuous practice for this period. So that means, even during any period of eating, any little breaks you might take, washroom breaks, if you go for a little walk, sometimes you'll need some exercise during the day. So going for a walk is fine in this process, but stay with this sense of I, this sense of I am. Maintain a continuous awareness of the self. And even going to bed at night, rather than just letting go into the sleep cycle, letting the mind generate random thoughts, and stay present, continue the inquiry. Even through waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, we can continue this inquiry. This is a continuous practice. And we want to come to the inquiry with a sense that it's the most important thing that you can do, which is this is the truth of who and what you are. This is, they say you have to want to awaken like one with their hair on fire wants a pond to jump into. You have to want to awaken like someone who is drowning wants that next breath to come. You want it with your entire being. It is the most important thing you will do in your human journey to awaken to your true self. Why is it important? To know who or what you are. It's important to become free of suffering, to realize who or what it is that suffers. It's the conditioned self, the character that you've been playing your whole life suffers because the sense of I is entangled with this character, entangled with its script that it's been following, beliefs, believes that things should be a certain way. The character is made up of preferences, and when it doesn't get what it wants, then there's suffering. So it's waking up from this constant cycle of craving and aversion, this constant seeking of pleasure, avoiding pain. It's essentially waking up to pure awareness. Awareness has no preferences. Sometimes teachers will say, you just love what is, be okay with what is. We're realizing this pure consciousness that is witnessing the game of life. So this consciousness has no real qualities. It has no place in time and space. There are no adjectives that can describe it. If you had to describe it, you could say it's just awareness, and you describe it in negative terms. There are no preferences. There are no wantings. In that sense, awareness is equanimity. So when we come to self-inquiry, there are two main problems. At the beginning, it's hard to find teachings, or it's hard to find teachers that will clearly explain self-inquiry. And an even bigger problem is when you find a teacher who gives you instructions. Because if you learn and follow those instructions, you can remain lost for years, seeking or doing something. You can lose decades of your life seeking and doing, practicing some technique, practicing something that is conditioned, something that's learned. So the mind is active. If there's some doer doing something that is, that it calls self-inquiry or meditation, that's not it. That's not it. So how to come into a space of self-inquiry? That's what we're going to go into today. So the conditioned learning is not helpful. Some people who have not done a lot of investigating and reading and exploring, they're actually better off for coming to this practice. They're not encumbered with learning. Their mind isn't full of thoughts that they borrowed from the sutras and the teachers. If you have a beginner's mind, then you have an advantage. And the only other way that we can truly come into self-inquiry is once we've gone down that road of seeking, we come to realize that we're still not free. We come to realize that the mind, the conditioned mind, can't do it. At a certain point, we come to a humbling of that mind. We realize that we really know nothing. All the mind learning, all the academic learning, at a certain point has to be let go of. And it has to be let go of down to the depth of the mind. It can't be a knowing mind. Even the unconscious can't be a knowing unconscious. We actually have to purify the mind of all that knowing, all those beliefs and concepts that we may be holding, which may be part of the operation of the conditioned self. So we have to actually go into unlearning, go into the cloud of unknowing. We have to even unknow our previous experiences, unknow our previous experiences of samadhi. Many people may have had an awakening experience at some point on their path. In those experiences, the mind will have dropped off to some degree. So there may be a lucid consciousness. You may have experienced an increase in energy, an increase in bliss, maybe a connection to everything, very wakeful experience. But if it's temporary, if it's just an experience, then it's not true awakening. The true awakening is knowing who you are. The true awakening is, like the Buddha said, it's prajna paramita. It's the ultimate wisdom of who or what you are. So the only question really is, are you free from suffering? Do you truly know who suffers, who or what suffers, who struggles, who wants the world to be other than what it is? So awakened consciousness does not suffer. Awareness does not suffer. And when I speak about awareness, I'm talking about primordial awareness, the ground of being. It's not a concept. It's consciousness, but it's not what we normally speak of as consciousness. Usually when we speak of consciousness, we're talking about a mind state, like waking, dreaming, or deep sleep. Normally when we speak of consciousness, we speak of consciousness in relation to what we're conscious of. We can be conscious of things. But what I'm speaking of is the consciousness that wakes up to itself. It's not consciousness of. It's just pure awareness, or you could say pure beingness. This pure beingness or I amness. It's the sense of I that you had at every point in your life. When you were a little kid, it's that sense of existing, sense that I am. There's no quality to that other than just I amness, the sense that I am being, the sense that I exist. This sense of existence was there at every point in your life. It was there when you were a teenager. It's here now. You are here now. The true you, the true I. Sense of existence. The sense of existence will be here now. Even at the end of life, there's a sense that I am. And this I am is unchanging. When people come to the end of their life, sometimes they'll say, I still feel that I am the same being. I don't feel the sense of I amness is different than when I was a little kid. So what is it? What is this I amness that doesn't change? There's this body and mind, this whole field of changing phenomena that evolves, ages. But what am I? Who am I beyond the mind and senses? So we stay with that I am continuously, allowing this internal pressure to build. And this is the whole practice of self-inquiry. At the beginning, there'll be a sense of the false I, the false self will be doing something. There'll be, of course, some activity of the mind involved in this. So the false self will be what we observe through this process. So we can, when we put attention on the sense of I am, what unfolds within the self structure? What unfolds? And we just watch, just be aware. The process is to make the unconscious mind, the unconscious energy become conscious. So just allow anything within the self structure to unfold. So the samskaras, the conditioned patterns, the unconscious patterns will present themselves, will make themselves known. Whatever's in the unconscious starts to come to the surface in this process. So the challenge is that the body will always want comfort. It will always seek comfort. This is one of the core knots that binds us to the ego structure. The body will want comfort. So as we engage in this practice, we move beyond our comfort zone. We don't want to move way beyond our comfort zone. There's a middle way with this. You don't want to free too much energy too quickly, or you can actually overwhelm the system. It's like releasing too much energy into thin wiring. You can fry the wires. So there's a middle way with this. You want to move beyond your comfort zone, but not so far beyond the comfort zone that the body and mind go into overwhelm. So the body wants comfort. And the other knot, or the other thing that binds us to the ego structure, is the mind wants to know, it wants to control this process. The longer we stay with this sense of I am, the more the mind will want to know what's going to happen. What do I do? What's going to unfold? So we have to allow the mind to be in this state of not knowing. Allow a beginner's mind, not knowing mind. We just allow whatever to come up. We allow thoughts, feelings, emotions, various hindrances may start to come up. Common hindrances are tiredness, confusion, doubt, pathological thoughts, daydreaming, or the sense of wanting something to happen. If the mind has any concept of what awakening is or what samadhi is, and it's trying to achieve that, based on something it's learned, based on a past experience, then you'll remain caught in the mind. So we allow these hindrances to come up. Allow everything to be exactly as it is. Not pushing away thoughts, not getting caught in thoughts. Krishnamurti had a great saying, really simple. He said, "No thoughts, no problem." If we can be thoughtlessly aware without evaluating, without analyzing, without choosing, and there's no problem, there's no mediation of this moment by the egoic construct. No thoughts, no problem. And even when there are thoughts, it's not a problem unless you believe those thoughts, unless you identify or react to those thoughts. The thoughts are like a river. The thoughts and sensations are like a river. You don't want to try and stop that river. That would be a futile effort. It's only the mind itself that wants to stop the mind. But you don't want to get caught or taken in that river either. You want to just watch, abiding as awareness, aware of I am. A very concise way of teaching this is to say, Be still and know. Be the stillness. Just be. Be awareness. Be aware. Be the I amness. There's nothing that has to be done. You already are that. It's your true nature. It has always been your true nature. So you just be what you already are. So nothing could be more simple. It's beyond simple. There's nothing for the mind in this process. No doing. Any movement of the mind in this process is due to misunderstanding, due to its belief that it needs to do something, engage in something. The mind looking for something perpetuates the sense of the false I, perpetuates the sense of the seeker, the one who is seeking. So who are you beyond the seeking mind? Who are you beyond the changing mind and senses? Don't look for an answer with the mind. Just recognize, wake up to what you are, what you have always been. Self-inquiry is just staying with this truth, the truth of knowing the mind's fundamental delusion. Its fundamental delusion is its identification with this conditioned self. This one who wants to do, to control, to attain something in the future. It doesn't know what to attain. The conditioned mind doesn't know what to hope for. So you can give up all hoping. Sometimes there's a struggle within the mind to give up, struggling to give up the struggle. So recognize who is struggling, or what is that is struggling. If you are aware of the mind, then you are not the mind. If the mind is struggling, if the mind goes to battle with itself, that struggle will continue endlessly. But who is aware, who was never in that struggle? Awareness was never bound. It's only that false identification with the mind that has created this whole human drama. Awareness has never been in prison. It's like recognizing who you are in a virtual reality game. If you go into a virtual reality game, you have an avatar, you have a character in that game. You're playing that character, but you know that you are the consciousness in the game. Who are you when you put on a VR headset? Who am I? I'm not the avatar. I'm not the conditioning, the program. I'm the one who is aware. I'm the one watching the show. So you are awareness, primordial awareness. Because you are awareness, there's no need to attain anything or cultivate anything. Just allow the energy to build within the self structure. All you have to do is give up being aware of things. Just be aware of awareness itself. Let go of anything that is not self, the true self. Just cease being interested in the changing phenomena that is arising. As we deepen into this process, or this realization, there will be subtler and subtler phenomena that come from the unconscious. So we want to witness whatever is arising, have a complete experience of whatever is arising. This conditioning is there because of incomplete experiences. So whatever comes up, emotions, past traumas, whatever comes out of the unconscious, we want to love what is. In other words, we're in a state of non-resistance. We're equanimous with what is. And the more we're in a state of non-resistance, the more will come. As soon as we resist something that comes up, a pain, an emotion, then we have to move through it. There's a purification that has to happen. We burn in it. Meditation is to burn in the now, to burn off the karma. So there will be subtler and subtler aspects of mind and energy that come into consciousness, and we witness those aspects. We may come to see very subtle patterns of mind that we didn't know were running. It can be very tricky. Mind can be very tricky in how it is involved with the self-inquiry. Maybe a subtle sense of knowing that something should happen, a subtle expectation of some unfolding, maybe some energetic event the mind wants to happen, or a subtle belief. There might be a belief that there's no self. If we've studied Buddhism, we may have a belief about anatta, no self. Or we may have a belief that there is a soul, Atman. All of these things are beliefs that we may be holding. Anatta or Anatman or Atman are all concepts until these beliefs are dropped and we can have a direct experience. Become or realize that which we are. We have to give up all knowing. So that the mind becomes transparent to its depth. Simply being still, not believing the thoughts, not becoming entangled with the phenomena that is arising. One of my favorite quotes from Ramana Maharshi is, he said, "Let what comes come, let what goes go, and find out what remains. Find out what remains." Pure being. That which is beyond changing and unchanging, beyond all duality. Just let the energy build. Let the energy circulate freely. Don't let the mind manipulate or get involved in any way. Who is aware? Who is conscious? Consciousness is beyond effort and non-effort. So let the energy do its thing. All effort and non-effort happen within the conditioned self. Just allow the energy to move with effortless effort. Allow it to rewire the avatar so that it becomes a more suitable vessel for awareness. Don't try to push away thoughts. Don't get caught in thoughts. Simply recognize awareness, I amness, which has nothing to do with thought. Whenever the mind moves, it's due to some unsatisfactoriness. Just notice those patterns that are in play. When you rest as the I am, then what comes forth from within you? Just observe. Let it arise and pass away without resistance. Just loving whatever comes up. Loving in the sense of true love, which is being conscious and experiencing fully the energy, the connection, conscious energy as one. For the last few minutes of the meditation, If your eyes are closed, I invite you to open them. Stay with the sense of I am. If we stay in continuous practice, engaging in a continuous sadhana for awakening, it's important to stay with that sense of I am, regardless of whether the eyes are open or closed, whether we're on a cushion or eating our meal, whether we're walking, whatever we're doing, stay with the sense of I am. Which is not an activity. It's not a doing. It's recognizing the dimension of being. We're going to shortly move into the question and answer period of this get together. This practice doesn't have to end. When you move on from this talk, from this Zoom call, the mind may want to re-engage. So just watch, resting as that awareness that you are. Entering into continuous practice through waking, dreaming, deep sleep. The continuance of the I am through dreaming and deep sleep is just a natural byproduct of remaining in presence. There's nothing that you do other than abide as the true self continuously. So I'm going to switch over to the question and answer period now. And if anyone would like to connect, or if anything's coming up in your practice, there's quite a few people who've been to the center, the Samadhi Center. I can see here. It's great to see everyone. I'd love to just check in, see what's coming up in your practice. Anything that is coming up for you. If you haven't been here before, there's a a raise hand feature, um, or if you can't find that, you can just unmute yourself. I see Lori there. Hi, Lori. Good to see you. Hi, oh, you're still muted there. Hello? Oh, I'll try it. Let me, oh, there
Yeah,
we go.
okay. Yeah, no, it wasn't allowing me to unmute myself.
Oh, I think that was me. Yeah, I muted everybody there. Okay. Hi, Lori. How are you doing?
Well, that was no escape there. Um, I'm doing great, actually. That was a really wonderful meditation. And I know it was instructions anyway, but the thing, I guess at some point, the mind, my mind started to go off into, thinking about, some things that are coming up in my life. And and this happens all the time in my meditation. And what I've noticed differently lately is that at some point I'll realize it's going on and I'll just start laughing because I have no control. I have no idea. And but the thought that struck me and the question that was sort of there throughout is like I actually really enjoy that stuff. Like like I'm in this body for a reason, right? And being out in the world is wonderful
Hmm.
at times. um, and and this whole idea of, feeling like your hair's on fire, um, to me, that's what gets me into trouble. It's this struggle, this striving, this, wanting things to be different. Um, and so, um, and as you know, my main teacher through my life has been Thich Nhat Hanh, who doesn't like he always talks about like we don't need to go anywhere, we don't need to do anything. This planet is wonderful. I love the purple bamboo. I love blah blah blah. We don't need to. We're already what we want to be, right? And and so in terms of setting intention, um, you know, it it I've kind of, and I'm hesitant to say this because it's very different than what you're saying, but
Hmm.
I find that just this non-resistance is really what I keep returning to, and this just dwelling happily in the present moment. Um, and I do see the value, like in that meditation, I was focusing my attention on this sense of self, on this sense of I amness, if you will.
Hmm.
And I find that I amness wonderful. Like when I'm just aware of it, there's just this freedom, this like the cessation of you know the 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 the, the tension, the
Hmm. Hmm.
you know. So I wonder if what your thoughts are in terms of this. To me, it's the the striving doesn't seem to help.
Hmm.
The idea that my hair should be, I should feel like my hair's on fire. It's like,
Yeah, so the question is, so it's not striving because striving is doing. So the hair on fire is sort of it's more like there's this term in Zen. I think I talked about it at a different uh, one of the other um, online things, but it's called Hoshin, and which is like it's they sometimes call it the way-seeking mind, the way-seeking mind. So it's like a beginner's mind, like not knowing what to do. So it's not a striving mind, but it's a mind that is seeking the way, seeking. So it's this kind of paradox, like Thich Nhat Hanh. I love Thich Nhat Hanh. He's amazing. Um, and it's true. Our true nature, needs no striving. Like awareness, that I amness. Nothing we do within the conditioned self can add to that I amness. You know, but yet, the problem with the world as it is, the problem of human suffering, is that my sense of I is attached to, this conditioned self that suffers, right? So if my sense of I is limited, to this character that I'm playing, then there's suffering. So the problem of suffering, isn't solved. One of the most, insidious teachings, I think, or dangerous teachings, is when a teacher will say, you're perfect as you are, because the ego will hear that and and go, oh, I'm perfect as I am, I'm perfect as whatever the conditioned self is. And so it's this paradox, like upon awakening, you know, we realized, like awareness, the true self was never imprisoned. It would never needed any development process. But yet, the real question is my sense of I entangled with that conditioned self? And do I suffer? Is there suffering? If the answer is no, then there's nothing to do. There's just rest as that awareness, as I amness. You're free. You're free. There's no more sadhana. There's no more path. But for most people, if they ask that question, do I suffer? The answer is yes. There's still more to go. So there's still this sadhana is a burning off of that delusion of and the entanglement of the sense of I within that conditioned self. So the question is, how far do you want to go with that? If the game and life is beautiful, there's no problem, then or if it's not a lot of suffering, then uh, that's beautiful. That's the fruit of the path. That's the you've been at this for a long time, Lori. You've been going down all these, excavating, and so there's no problem. If there's, this, if you were resting as I amness, there's this sense of peace, that's beautiful. And
Well,
yeah, and I agree with everything you said. It really, there is no, the problem is feeling that there is a problem or something to attain in the future. And but that's the delusion we fall into over and over. That's the mind's fundamental delusion, is that there's something to fix.
yeah. Well, and I fall into that over and over still.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the big change I've noticed in the last little while is just that I think it's hilarious that I still do that. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, if you can laugh at it, like who's laughing? It's if the conditioned mind is often very serious, but when it feels like, a game, then yeah, like that's it.
yeah, yeah. No, I have no idea what's going on. So
Mhm.
it's
Awesome.
nice to be able to be happy with that.
Yeah, that's perfect. I don't either. I have no idea. The further I go with this, I truly the only thing I know now for sure is that I don't know. And that's it. But in that not knowing, with the conditioned mind knowing, like when we actually get to a point where we're okay with not knowing, it's such a burden that's lifted, like that knowing, having to know is such a heaviness. So it's Yeah, it's good that you don't know. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Seems like you're in a good place.
I mean, quite often, yeah. But I mean, I still, the body like grabs and and I get into a place of struggle I mean, constantly,
Mhm.
right? I mean, it goes back and forth and back and forth and back and
Mhm.
forth.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
thank you, and this is really wonderful. I appreciate your teachings a lot.
Mm. Yeah, good to see you, Lori. Hi. I'll go to Anne Marie. Hi there. Oh, I'm gonna unmute. Yeah, I think there you go. Hello, how are you?
Good. Um, Thank you for the leading of us inside to ourselves. The words are coming out a little funny right now because I went quite deep and feeling, yeah, I thought I was going to come for for silence, and then
Ah,
I realized, oh, it's Stan's talk, and so I thought, I really want silence. Should I stay? Should I go? And then something said, just stay, because it's all silence, really, isn't it?
mhm.
And you speak from such depth. And I did find myself a few times uh, wanting to escape, but mostly it was just so quiet inside me, and my body was moving a bit, which can feel quite nice. And then I found that I was checking in with myself, like, are you really just letting your body move how it wants to? And if you let go totally, like keep letting go, does it still want to move?
Mhm.
And how true can I be in this moment? So mostly I just wanted to share that it's wonderful to have this opportunity uh, to be with you all, and to keep hearing your words bringing back and dropping the thoughts and dropping the control. And it's lovely. So thank you so much.
Hmm. Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you. And yeah, what you describe, it's an amazing way to really come to, deeper stillness. Really tuning into the body, like when we're letting go. Am I moving the body? If sometimes when we really let go, there's like a little energy that might be pulsing in the body, but then we go deeper and then we realize, oh, I am that energy as well. It's like even that, what we thought was moving us, eventually I am not as well, so
Mm.
and there are these layers of deepening. So yeah, it's an amazing unfolding in the practice. And I liked what you said, like how true can I be in this moment? That's a great way of inquiring, how can I be truly here in this moment? Thank you. Hello, I'll go to Gu Ziang. Gu Ziang? Yeah, I'll unmute you here. Hi there.
Hi,
Hello.
my name is Gu Xiang.
Sorry, I trashed that. Yeah.
No, it's okay. And my English is not that, like I don't talk in my daily life, so I will do my best. And thank you so much. This is the first time I here in this like Q&A. And I always appreciate your movies and samadhi meditation series. It really, really helped me a lot. I even brought my mom with me to sit meditation.
Oh, wonderful. Well, welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to ask questions about like some physical feelings or emotional feelings. Like I always can feel a very strong, like the charging, like something charging here and just here, this area. And most of time I can feel how strong, like it just take me somewhere. And as I learned from the teaching, I just always remain like going back to observation, like to not be taken away. And last night I experienced something. I was listening to your YouTube list of this kind of video recordings, and then I fell asleep, but not exactly fell asleep. It was like about to fall asleep, but only a little bit consciousness left there. And then I told myself I don't want to resist anything. Like there's not like no resistance, like a sign. And then I felt I was about to fell off. It's really feels like about to jump off the cliff or something. And I don't know. I feel it's like it's a really unknown feeling. It's like a great void, but I decided to do that. And then my right ear started to ring so loudly. So I don't know what happened, and it actually took me back, like I couldn't fall into the cliff. So I told myself again, I want to keep releasing, and I will do that. And then my right ear ringing even out like very louder, and I couldn't, like I was taken back again. And after that, I guess I just fell asleep. And I'm kind of curious what exactly it is, or is it because all the thoughts still come from my mind, so it wants to try to protect itself. And about another thing that I want to ask, it was I always feel very, very energetic and happy when, as long as, like the longer I'm on this journey. Sometimes I feel I just really admire laughing Buddha and just want to keep laughing. And I guess it's good, And sometimes when life really shows the like, if people are really negative, or if they want to give me the pressure, then I don't want to laugh, or I cannot keep my vibration. Is that okay? I mean, is it because I still have the dualistic mind? Like like when people told me this or that, I still feel no, this, like I resist. Is it because I have the resistance? So I have these two things. Thank you so much, Eve.
Okay.
I really make things clear.
Yeah, it's very clear. Yeah, so yeah, the first question. So when you're going to sleep at night, what you're describing, you described it really well. Sometimes different teachers or different traditions will describe this in different ways. Some people, to me, there's there are different realms of consciousness. So there's our waking realm, the subtle realm, which is sometimes dreaming, the astral realms. There are many different kind of many different subtle realms, and then there's the causal realm where there's no phenomena at all when we go into deep sleep. So when we transition from the waking realm to the subtle realms, sometimes we'll lose consciousness, we go into dreaming. But if we go consciously, which it sounds like you were starting to go consciously, this is the beginning of sometimes people who describe astral traveling will often describe like it's almost like going through a portal, and there can be a ringing in the ears, or just a rush of sound as we make that transition consciously. And at that point, a lot of people will experience fear. A fear will come up, or there'll be like a resistance, or the mind doesn't know what's happening. And it's an amazing opportunity to observe what comes up in that moment. And it may take many tries to go through that without that mind reaction and that fear reaction. So if you can completely surrender into that, it's almost like going through like an energy portal or something. It's like a very intense flip of energy when that consciousness goes from waking to the subtle. So then when you wake up in that space, then there's all kinds of phenomena that can unfold. And you could say your higher self, or the intelligence of the higher mind will you know it will all unfold for you then at that point. So there's no what do I do once I get there. It'll be clear, it'll be directed by that higher self. So yeah, so that's a stage that unfolds for some people on the path. And if it's just happening, my feeling about it is, it's not necessary for, to explore all these realms. But if it's happening naturally, if it seems like a natural kind of unfolding, then the way I look at it, it's like, it's like the self structure is like a tree, and it grows these branches into different dimensions of self in order to become a better tree, like a better, a stronger tree.
Ah,
So the energy is branching into these realms. It's part of the growth process. So for awakening, it's not necessary. For awakening. For awakening, we stay with the sense of I, but yet the more we stay with that sense of I, the more that energy becomes free and starts branching and starts exploring. So there's a connection to awakening. Within the self structure, it's more likely to grow into these higher levels of self. So it's just a sign. It's a good sign that on the path that things are happening, energy is becoming more free. So I would, in that moment where you hear that ringing, it's just a process of being present, allowing, surrendering, being in a non-resistance. And if anything comes up, any fear, just observe and just notice it, make it conscious. Yeah. Yeah.
wow, pretty clear. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome. And the second one, so I just want to say it back to you just to make sure I'm getting a sense of it. So
Um,
you're finding, is it that the mind is reacting sometimes in situations with other people? Is that kind of what you're describing?
uh, it's like I'm always feel good. Like most of time, I feel good when I'm alone. But when I'm around people, I can feel their attention, or their, like, if they pay attention to me, or they want to tell me something, they want to, um, you know, they want to wish me well in some way.
Mhm.
And so I just naturally feel not so easy. Yeah,
Mhm.
I feel
Mhm.
in some ways, I don't know how to, like, I want to make people happy, I want to make myself happy, and so there is a conflict, or there's a resistance, but I don't want to have any resistance when I interact with people. So this is the way, like,
Mhm.
yeah, it
Yeah,
happens every day,
yeah,
every day. Yeah.
yeah. And it's like that's a just a natural test of your practice, and like life is the most amazing teacher. Like people, everyone is like a mirror, to show us where we have that resistance. So so it's not a problem. It's actually, when you feel that resistance, it's a way to become conscious of that resistance. So where do you feel it in the body, in some particular place? Like when that resistance comes up, are you in the sensations of the body? Do you feel like a contraction, like maybe in the belly or in a certain part of the body?
Yeah, I feel it's like it's closing up. It's like this feeling, but most of the time I can feel it's energy is like that.
Mm.
But when people trying to tell me something, it will be like closing up and trying to hold it, and this place will want to be silent, or don't want to look at their eyes, or this
Mhm,
kind of things will happen.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, so there's a few so there's a practice that we do at the center that can be really powerful for for interacting with other people. It's a dyad process, a self-inquiry process with another person. So if you have someone, you can start with people in your life.
Mm.
If you have a friend, family member, or partner, and you could engage in self-inquiry, looking into their eyes, and feeling what comes up, when you connect to that sense of I am, and familiarize yourself, with being present with another person, to allow, and make that energy conscious. And then, like for me, I do it with everyone that I meet. I feel, that they are like a mirror, and so you can. It's like a practice to become aware. Sometimes in the body, like for me, one of the things that made a huge difference in my life was doing Vipassana meditation. So like doing a
A
deep
person.
Vipassana, so doing a deep scan of the body in the meditation. Um, and Vipassana is
uh,
in the Buddhist tradition. It comes from some of the teachings of the Buddha, and it's about just becoming aware of sensation in the body, and at the very subtlest
mm,
level. And because usually, if we feel that resistance, there's something unconscious, inside of us, creating that contraction, creating that resistance. So the Vipassana meditation is a way to penetrate to a very deep level of sensation, always going subtler and subtler, so that then if we have the wiring in our body to observe that subtle sensation, then we go into a situation where someone is interacting with us, and before the contraction happens, we can feel the energy moving on a very subtle level, and then there's more space then to open, and we can allow that energy to flow rather than be in a resistance state. So I would say those
uh,
those two tools, doing the self-inquiry dyad with another person and the Vipassana body scan, those are the two things that I would say that I know would, be best for going deeper into, really feeling what's going on in that situation.
Wow. Oh, this is so accurate. This is just exactly what I want to know for so long time. I don't have like a teacher like in my life about this, and no partner, or I mean friends also on this kind of journey, on
Mm.
the spiritual journey. So I'm always like searching and reading, and thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, and you do now. This is a little community here, so you're welcome anytime. And yeah, and just feel free to reach out as
Yeah.
well. We have people at the center or myself. If you have questions that come up, we're happy to connect you with things. There's the Vipassana tradition started by S.N. Goenka. There are Vipassana centers everywhere in the world. I don't know in your area if there are some, but he was a very wealthy kind of businessman who had an awakening, and he started these centers
Uh,
all over the world. So they're very accessible. They're by donation, so you don't even have to pay money right away. You just donate afterwards. So it's a great way, a great
uh-huh.
practice to really go into the inner world.
Well, in my place, I'm from China.
Mhm.
So if I want to find that kind of place, I can only go to a temple and
Mhm.
ask the monk, can I stay?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, thank
Mhm.
you. Thank you a
Wonderful.
lot. Thank you a lot for this sharing. Yeah. And I
Nice
finished
to
my
meet you.
question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Brenda. Uh, ooh, here we go. Hi there.
Hi there. Nice to see you, Dan.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, and thank you for that really good talk. I forget that, well, I always think, I know, but then when I hear it, it helps me,
Hmm.
you know, remember to practice it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my meditations are going very poorly,
Mhm.
which has always been the case for me, but it feels even worse. I mean, I'm really in the thick of it with my daughter who's an addict and looking after her child. And I just can't meditate. As soon as I start, and my mind takes me every time. I don't know how you get to the point. Like it just doesn't feel like there's any progress on it for me.
Mhm.
I'm always jumping on that train. And then a minute later, I did it again. Go back to just watching. And
Mhm.
then I'm gone again and gone again. And
Mhm.
I, you know,
Yeah, it's so the mind is just really busy, pathological, like
it
yeah,
is.
yeah. So I know a couple. So there's a technique that is for that specifically. So I always have a technique for everything, but this one
Thank you.
this one so this one comes from also a Vipassana tradition, but it's a different one than the one I was just talking about. The S.N. Goenka tradition is more about it comes from the Ubakin lineage, which is in Burma. They're tuning into the somatic field, basically going into sensation. But this other one is from Mahasi Sayadaw, and also a Burmese tradition. But this one is so you're turning toward thought themselves.
Yeah.
So the technique is to um, so when you're meditating, you want to catch the thoughts that come up. And you may, sometimes the thought will just snag you, but the moment you recognize that you're thinking, then you want to label the thought in a way that you see the qualities of that thought. So, and you can get as specific as you want with this. So you could, in your case, the thought might be worrying, worrying or planning, or or there's these different types of thoughts that can come up. Or sometimes it's revisiting the past, so, or it could be sometimes it's just random fantasy or whatever, so all these different types of thoughts coming up. And if you Google the Mahasi Sayadaw, or I can actually, I have your email, I can send you a link as well. But basically, it's just looking at what these thoughts are. Like you're using. So this is one of these examples where it's like you're using a thorn to remove a thorn. You're using a conditioned pattern to break up a conditioned pattern. So this is like a stepping stone in meditation, to use a technique like this to really break up the fundamental pattern of the mind. So you just stay with it, and as well as you can do it, just label, what are these thoughts that are coming up, and bit by bit you start to activate a different part of the mind that's observing, and labeling the mind, and you start to pull the energy away from that incessant conditioned pattern of the mind. So it's an amazing pattern, and people who have really busy minds, this is the pattern. This is the technique that will work for that. It's
Okay.
really 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 powerful, and some of the greatest meditation teachers out there, this was actually what led to their awakening, was this technique. So
That sounds worthy of attempt.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the other thing I always want to ask, I know I have asked it, but it just always keeps coming up. When I get relaxed at night, let's say, and often it'll be after, um, a gummy or something, a cannabis thing, and I'll be feeling like, oh, I can really feel the relaxation. And then like a violent sort of contraction or twitch will come up.
Hmm.
I could catch it and stop it. I'm always like, do I let it happen or do I hold it still? I know I've asked you this before,
Yeah.
because the Vipassana is hold it still.
Hmm.
It's just every time the question comes up, and maybe that's again that I should just go, oh, there's that question again. Maybe that's what I should be focusing on. Here comes me questioning again, whether I allow the twitch or I stifle it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so that it's a common thing, when we're really, I experience it myself. I like in the body, the Kundalini energy, whatever you call that, the energy gets to a certain point, and there can be this twitch and contraction, and so the way I navigate that is, just like really really asking, like, who is you know who is choosing in that moment, or who's controlling in that moment, who wants to control the energy in that moment. And like, to me, the energy has an intelligence, and it's like, that whole chakra system. It's like energy wants to, merge with consciousness, really, in a samadhi state. It's like there's this natural kind of flow when the energy becomes free of the conditioned pattern. The energy wants to merge with consciousness. So when consciousness isn't fully present, it can't merge, so there's this discharge of energy. It doesn't flow up the spine and open the third eye, and then there's this change in consciousness. And so to me, whenever there's an increase in energy, when there's more energy than consciousness, then to me, the Shiva and Shakti balance is what it's all about. Whenever there's the Shakti is strong, then we need more Shiva, more consciousness. So so to me at that point, it's not about, it's, well, we've got
Joy.
somebody unmuted there. Yeah, I'll just see if I can unmute them or mute them. Yeah, I'm not seeing where it is there, but okay. Okay. So yeah, so at that point, it's not about going into the somatic field and working with energy, because that'll actually stir up more energy. I think, when the energy is really strong at that point, like I said, like the inquiry is really, becoming aware of who is choosing or who's wanting to control, and just being aware of awareness in that space, just being like a true self-inquiry in that space, and noticing if there's any preference or any controlling whatsoever, and then just relaxing, just allowing that energy to do its thing. So so if we're really aware of who we are in that moment, the energy will naturally start to resolve itself and flow up the spine to the third eye, and then open that, merge that energy and consciousness. The illusion or the duality is that there is, that we have energy and we have consciousness of that energy, and that's, observer and observed. That's the duality that we're experiencing in this human form. So there's a natural resolution to that in samadhi, and so yeah, I would say the self-inquiry at that point would probably be just the most beneficial.
Yeah, so I feel like I do go into it. It brings me to, like, it really helps pull me in. Actually, when something starts moving, then I'm all of a sudden I'm right there with what's going on here. And I don't know if I'm the one making the movement or if I'm the one trying to stop the movement,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, and that's the question, right? Like, in that Kundalini energy, when it wakes up, like, it seems like something foreign within us. It seems like it has its own intelligence and its own movement and everything. But then, as we go deeper into it, we merge with it. We realize it is me. It is more of me, and it becomes integrated. And it can be, it can take you on a wild ride. I've had nights where it just would not, it was relentless, and it just is what it is. It's just, sometimes that's part of the path. And I don't have, for me, it's not about, trying to fix anything with it. Like, it is just part of the integration process. So so if there's part of the mind that is finding it unpleasant, or has a preference around it, then we that's part of it, to see, oh, okay, this part of the ego is in play here. It has a preference around this, and let's keep an eye on that. And what happens if I drop that preference, and really fully be okay with what is, then maybe the energy will shift and move, and yeah, but it's it can be a challenging part of the path, for sure. Yeah.
And this Shakti versus Shiva energy, is
Yeah.
there a place I could read about that? Like, I've heard the words, but I
Yeah.
don't know of the whole thing. Is there anywhere you can point me to read about that?
Sure. There's a number of teachers out there. It depends, like the language. If you want to go into it in that kind of yogic tradition that uses those words, you know, different traditions use different words like yin and yang, or you know,
Right.
there are many different ways of describing that duality. But there's a book called Kundalini Tantra. It's by, I believe, Swami Satyananda. You know, it'll give you a good kind of overview of that tradition, or like the, you know, kind of the yogic tradition that comes out of the, you know, the Vedas and the Upanishads and that. So
Okay.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. It's good to see you, Brenda.
Nice to see you too, Dan. Thank you.
Mhm. Go to Joy. Hi, Joy.
Oh,
Hi there.
hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I always enjoy your film, and I've been a seeker, and I know I need to stop, keep seeking, and never get there. And so I followed a few teachers before, and then I got into A Course in Miracles. When I finished the daily lessons for the year, I went to Peru for the ayahuasca. I had a glimpse of awakening experience there. That experience showing me all the process, and including how complete surrender my body bones totally gone. My body become a jellyfish type, no bones left, and I experienced illumination. Actually, I believe that the source of, nirvana, or call it kingdom of God or whatever. I call it square one, because I know I come from square one. Now I'm in square one. I look the other side. That means I'm looking in the world. Whatever I did or didn't do in that world doesn't matter. There's nothing there in that world. I got those kind of glimpse of awakening. And then I come back, I start the text part of the Course in Miracles. Before I finish, I got to the chapter 28, before reach to 31. And I went to Peru, another ayahuasca. I got the revelation, and this entire thing is a game. So I said, I don't want to play this game. I want to get out of here. Then pitch dark. I didn't know where to go, couldn't see anything. So then the music turned out, the music beat had directions. So I followed the music directions. I got into the trench. So I couldn't get out of the trench. I asked for help. Then the airplane came here. I jumped, grabbed the wing of the airplane. I thought, this is revelation telling me I give my willingness to get out of the game. That's my desire. And then the music showed me I will be guided by the music beats. Then I got a trench. I asked for help. I was lifted up, to the airplane. I grabbed the wing of the that, then it stopped there. Also, I constantly, quite often, I got a guidance from lucid dream. Okay, so basically tell me, what I need to do, where I am right now. And so I was still seeking. I got into A Course of Love and the Way of Mastery. Then I heard, after that revelation about this is practicing again, I got an assignment, okay, huge assignment of being a miracle worker. Then I finish assignment, I come back, I continue to seek through probably mostly is Jesus' channel of teachings. But I have some struggle, you know. I went through all those things, then I got an inner voice told me, go back to A Course in Miracles. So I went back to Course in Miracles, and I tried to connect. I think I'm never alone. I did this all by myself. So try to connect with the outside group. So, but I feel I don't feel fit in with any groups, because I feel they pull me out. A lot of them are still at the thinking, mental construct level to deal with this teaching. So I was going to be pulled into another mental construct. I'm going backwards instead of forward. So a couple of groups I got out of there, you know, I would be thinking, is my problem something I need to deal with within myself, because I do not mingle well with even those groups who are on the same path. Then more recently, I got another is a group. The group was the more emphasize the focus on the feeling, okay? Reach the quietness, the deep, the peace, okay? I enjoy it. I love the people, a couple of people. I feel we have great energy, but I feel another trap there, because we seem to be using the stillness of the peace. It's still a mental construct, okay, to use it as a measurement against other kind of feeling. If I have my emotional, you know, storm something, that is something wrong, so I have to get there, because that is quietness, peace is the incorrect one. So I mean, using one is judging the other one. So I said, you know, this group seems to be good. Is my judgment against it? You know, it's my ego. Probably everybody there, even on the same path, they got their own ego. The ego is still in conflict. Is something I need to be quiet, do not speak out openly, feeling my like being trapped. Okay, and I love to be peace. Everybody loves to be in peace, but when I'm not in peace, you know, I do not want to suppress that non-peace energy, that bury it into my subconscious, right? And suppose I'm in temporary pseudo peace right now, but I just stuff it into the garbage can of my subconscious. One day or someday it will blow out. Still get me, right? So then should I speak out? If I speak out, obviously I'm also in conflict with the group. It's challenging. I should be quiet, just accept whatever it is, avoid any conflict. This is one conflict. The other conflict is I try when we look at the drama part, I try to see it as a dream, right? That's a dream is not a need, non-identified, so non-judgment is nothing, and let it go. Okay, and also this me is a dream, is not me either. If I don't feel good, I say I'm not feel good, I'm bad. It's not fair either, because a dreaming figure is not my true self. There's another self. Still, I'm separate from that self. I'm not connected with the self. So if I express honestly, obviously I created some kind of a conflict in the group. If I do not, then I being put into some it's a little circle, it's a boundary, it's another chain of imprisonment again, right?
Yeah.
So I
So
don't know what to do.
yeah. So your question, it's an important question. I think it comes up, in many different traditions, and many different groups where they have an authentic teaching, like A Course in Miracles is a very beautiful, authentic teaching, but there can be, the personalities or the people sometimes are at different stages, and it feels like, sometimes we can feel the spiritual persona that is connected to whatever that system and that teaching is, and it doesn't feel authentic. So I think there's a few things here to be really conscious of. Like first, like looking at one's own ego structure. The ego structure is made of preferences, always preferences. So if I have preferences coming up, in Zen, there's a beautiful teaching, and it said, the great way is simple, but it's simple for those with no preferences. If we can drop those preferences, or really examine them, they can be a way to really make big progress with the ego. So I would say, what are my preferences in this situation, and truly, how can I be free, in the moment? Like, to me, the self-inquiry is it has to lead to somewhere where we're not pushing away our truth in the moment. We have to be able to, it's like being a little kid, when before the conditioning came from society. When I was a little kid, I didn't have, I wasn't trying to please someone. I wasn't trying to get approval. I didn't care what people thought. That came later. It's like when parents and teachers and society started to react a certain way to my actions and my expression. So who am I beyond that conditioning? Who am I beyond that, what's been learned from society? So in that situation, I think, everyone has to ask that question. We'll naturally migrate towards groups or to places or things in the world that, if we're on a kind of path of liberation, that inner feeling of, am I moving towards greater freedom? Can I be truly expressive? And so, so there's no right or wrong. Do I have to be with this group? How does it feel? Does it feel free? Is it moving in the direction of freedom? Or is it, if I am in this group, do I have to cultivate a false persona, a false mask, a false spiritual persona in order to be accepted by these people? It's a legitimate question, and so the question is, why would you do that if it feels false? So, and only you can answer that. That's your journey. I go by my inner feeling. It's like Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss. You follow that inner feeling of aliveness, and that is the compass for navigating, whether it's teachings or people or, anything in the matrix. And ultimately, you said one thing that stuck with me. You in one of your experiences, you realized that nothing in the external was really actually important, for awakening. If you're looking for anything in the matrix, out there, that you think will make you happy or free, if you think changing anything in the matrix will lead to liberation, that's the mind. It's the conditioned mind. So so once you realize that, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what you do. It matters who you are, who you are. You're not the conditioned self. Like you mentioned, a sense that it's like a dream. This dream self. It can be what it is, and it's not a problem if you know who you are, and that's the only thing that will lead to liberation is knowing who you are.
So
And
I can either stay in the group to work on my preference, release my own preference. So in order to be more in harmony in the group, just because it's still external, whatever happens external doesn't really matter. So let it go, the importance of my ego thinking about how I need to stand, where I stand, right? So
Yeah.
all I can leave either way will be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. Either way, there's a chooser, someone choosing. So, but who are you? In who's aware of that chooser? Who's aware of the choosing? And that's what's going to lead to liberation. Liberation, the true self, it was never bound, and it waking up to that realization, it can happen in a group, it can happen on your own. It really has nothing to do with, the external circumstances. It's just, and the way, it's exactly what we did today, staying with that sense of I am, and recognizing who has preferences, who is trying to get something from that group, or from A Course in Miracles, or from any teaching, any external teaching. So
the regulation for the I'll get out of the game. Okay, the guidance. I got these 4 sentences. I have nothing to learn. I have nothing to teach. Let all go within. So I can. It's stuck in my mind. I want to follow the path, but I do not know how to go ahead. Do it thoroughly. Nothing learned. Nothing to teach. Let all go. Obviously, I'm still grabbing from outside and inside.
yeah. So there's the intellectual knowing, but then you actually have to stop. Actually.
I need to stop.
Yeah. Just like, yeah. It's more now about what you don't do than what you do. It's realizing that who is doing, or who is in control. Who's trying to attain or do something. So yeah, I would say that it's more about non-doing at this point.
Yeah, I eventually at a certain point I want to try what you say, just turn on everything. Just give it 3 days. If the 3 days go well, maybe 1 week or even 1 month. Eventually develop to that here. But I do not know how to go ahead with the diet yet. I do not have a partner. If I'm in London, Ontario, if you come across someone also from London, Ontario, interested in the same thing, maybe we can partner up with each other. Also, in the future, I would like to have some guidance from you about the diet, how to go, how to do it by yourself, how to do it with a partner.
Yeah.
I really appreciate. Probably I will. This is the first time for me to come to you. I've been paying attention to you for a long time, for probably quite a number of years, but I never really get into it, especially direct to talk to you. I check a lot of videos online from you, so that's what because I always attack here and there, everywhere, and grabbing everywhere. So I haven't got the time to grab you yet.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you. And the next video that will be coming on the Awaken the World channel will be about the dyad process. We've been filming it at the center and filming examples. So that'll be something to watch for in
Okay.
the weeks
Okay.
ahead.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Hi, Anna. Hi there.
Hello, good evening. After 15 years of working abroad, I returned to my mother country and I started to work as a therapist. And I had a friend who was like helping me, recommending some clients. The same friend, he held a retreat where I experienced a state of egoless after true self-inquiry. Who am I without I? For about half an hour, I saw there is no suffering, there is no death. I saw the big I, the small I, that laugh like in front of me. However, after 11, so this retreat lasted 11 days. After that 11 days, I returned to my usual work. And I started to experience strong fear, physical fear, that I will fail, that I will not succeed in my work. It seemed that this friend who used to help me, he abandoned me. I feel that I will remain without money. People around are robbing me from money, saying, for example, my redecorator who is redecorating my apartment said in the beginning a sum, but now he doubled it. And somehow I wake up in the middle of the night and I feel such a strong anxiety that I will fail, that I will not manage. How and I pity myself and I feel shame. How is possible to go to such extreme?
Yeah, so the flip that happens, there is a flip of the sense of I, is attached to the character, and then it can flip to the unconditioned. So in this moment right now, when you say I, what is that I referring to?
I think the small.
Yeah.
Who is in fear that, my goodness, I will not survive.
Yeah.
Through my spinal cord, really a cold fear, I will fail.
Yeah.
I am no one. I am nobody. It's a shame.
Yeah.
No one to help you, abandoned, robbed.
Yeah. Yeah. And that little I, and that fear, all of that, when we make contact, how long ago was that retreat that you went on?
About 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. So it's normal when we make contact with the true self. Often there will be big changes start to happen in our life. Big thing. It's like life sometimes will get dismantled after an experience like that, because all of the all of the fears, all of the beliefs that are in the conditioned mind can start to become very, very clear. So what's happening right now, you're seeing with clarity all of the conditioning within the little self, right? It's becoming clear who you're not, that you're not this limited self. But sometimes you have to see it very in detail, and the question also is, when the energy starts to become free of that conditioned self, it's like the old pattern may not survive, You know, the world that you're familiar with may not survive that's transmutation process. So there's a question, you know, or two questions that are really important. You know, what do you want? You know, do you want to, you know, awaken, you know, as that true self, the true I, you know, and what are you willing to pay for that? You know, what are you willing to pay? Like what are you willing to let go of? You know, because you pay with that little self, you pay with the conditioned self. You know, you pay by letting go of the patterns and the you know, the old life. You know, sometimes it has to be dismantled. So, you know, are you now are you engaging in any meditation practice or self-inquiry practice every day, or um,
In the before, yes, every day.
but now
Fifth.
now
But now, for the last few days, this fear is so strong, keeps me away from meditation.
Mhm. Yeah, so
I'm so afraid that I will fail.
hmm. So I'll tell you something about failing. So the you know, the little self has to fail. The little self can't meditate. You know, there's nothing you can learn with the conditioned mind. You know, for me, so I'll share an experience that I had. I had an awakening experience where, you know, I felt connected to the universe. I knew who I was, all of that, you know, and then I went back to life, and you know, the little self wanted that back. I wanted that experience back desperately, you know, wanted that connection. And I spent years exploring, trying to figure out how to get it back, and learning techniques, reading the sutras, going in this tradition, that tradition. And eventually I found myself at a Zen center where they put me into conditions of no escape, where I had to meditate for long periods of time. And I'd done a lot of meditation, but this was really extreme. And and I realized everything I had learned, all of my, you know, everything that was in my mind, nothing could help me in this situation. There was no way out. And it's like my little Dan character had to fail in meditation. I had to give up all the doing, all the, you know, the controlling, or any idea that I had of what meditation or self-inquiry was. I had to let it go. And it was in that total failure that I actually had a true
Mhm.
awakening. I realized who I was. I realized I'm not that character. That character that was always trying to awaken will never awaken. So Anna, you know, Anna will never awaken. You awaken from Anna. The big I awakens from Anna, you know, so Anna has to fail. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense, but
Yeah.
it's frightening.
But to who? To who is frightened? Anna. Anna is frightened. But what
The
about
small
you?
one.
Yeah.
And I saw it. It was like a clown pretending it's me. Everything you saw, it's me, the small one, not the big
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
But now in reality, I feel okay.
Yeah. And that fear that comes up it's actually a good stage that you're in contact with that fear. It's just now, you know, like at the meditation retreats that we do, it's an important stage to come in contact with that fear, because it means the conditioned self is starting to let go. It's starting to feel, you know, like something's happening, you know, it's really letting go, or it's really it, you know, it doesn't, it's not the one in control anymore, and it's afraid. So that's a good sign, you know. It's actually, if you can just observe that fear and allow it, allow the self structure to go through that fear, you know, or experience that fear. The fear is energy, you know. It's actually, you know, the question, the self-inquiry question is, you know, who am I? Always, who am I, and who is afraid, you know, and just allow the conditioned self to move through that fear. It's natural. It's like it is like a little death process for the conditioned self. Yeah. But it doesn't die. It doesn't actually die. It's like it's been in control. It's had its hands on the steering wheel the whole time, and it's moving into the back seat. That's all, you know. So it doesn't, you don't lose anything. You don't lose that conditioned character. It just isn't the boss anymore. That's all.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, I'll go to Roz. Hi, Roz.
Hi, Dan.
Hello. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. Thank you. Nice to see you again. So I am looking for some insight, but that insight is coming from my mortal mind. I know that it's generally when I don't interact with anything, anybody, and exposed into the environment, I don't look for anything. I don't think, I don't want, and like I just exist. However, when I interact and there is my human mind is seeking for some clarity, and even that now when I raise my hand, I'm aware that this is my human mind wants to ask question. And I was asking, okay, so whether I should or shouldn't. And the deep inside, there is I do have this communication line, and it gives me the a kind of permission. It's a smiling sensation. So I said, okay, so I meant to ask the question. The question is, I'm aware of my feeling, emergence of the ego, and the my thoughts and things. And sometimes I'm just get disconnected from everything. My feeling, thoughts, and the even if I want to ask a question, if it means not to happen, it will just disappear. Mm-hmm. And it's reflective in my actual physical life. If the life situations, actions, and the thinking, talking, everything. So people even can be taken out of my way. So it's a strange question that who is controlling? And that in the beginning, I was trying to figure out what it is. And I was kind of resisting and trying to have control over. So then something happened in my life. Everything was taken away. Now I just know that I just need to go with the flow. I don't have any plan in my life. It just drops something. Yeah. So then I just follow what it is, but I'm in a, if it's a higher self, over self, universe, God, I have no idea, but it doesn't allow me to be like a normal human. So I just follow what it is. If I don't follow, it communicates through my physical body. Mm-hmm. So it automatically, let's say that if I'm interacting and talking, some level of contacts or conversations, I will automatically be send a message to my body that I will have here, even my chakra systems get very uneasy. I will have the pain. So then I just said that, okay, maybe it's the time I need to stop. Then I stop and I'm okay. So it controls me. Who is controlling me? Is it possible? I do question. It's not I ask it, is it an entity? Is it an aliens? Or is it some sort of negative oriented existing dimensional portal? So I question, it is not. So now I have to, okay, let it be. I don't have anything in my mind in a regular basis. I don't think it's empty. I'm just walking in the pointless illusionary place, and unfortunately I'm a human. I need to interact. I need to even expose listening to these videos and things, listening people things. I feel it. It's my feeling. I see the person's layers, and then I get confused into it. Then I will have the discomfort, and the in background, it just takes me off. So just wondering, it's my wandering human mind. Actual me is really doesn't care any of it, but.
Yeah, so it sounds like you know the answer to your own question, so from the higher mind perspective, it's not a problem, right? From the lower mind, always wants to know, and so this is the paradox, it's not a paradox, but the situation. There are these levels of mind, many different levels of mind, and so there are different kind of templates that are in play in our life. So for me, one thing that I have experienced is these levels of mind that my body is a certain way. I get I'm it's like I'm allowed to eat certain foods. If I don't eat certain foods, I get corrected by my body, you could say. It's like that my body has an intelligence, and it's kind of fine-tuned, and it will let me, so from one perspective you could say I'm being controlled, by my body, but it's my avatar. It's not me. My awareness is here for the show, but the body is, it's made of the conditioning, and it has this certain template that is in play, right? So the question is, do I suffer? Do I suffer? The body will feel, pain. The body feels, it can be hot, it can be cold, but do I, am I hot? Am I cold? Is awareness hot? Does awareness suffer? No, awareness is just aware. If my sense of I is resting as awareness, then whatever templates are in motion within the body, we can engage in all of these different games, while we're on earth. I can go into these templates. I can start to merge, with using this avatar. I can wire into these higher templates and start to experience them as part of this direct interface. So it's not like it's something separate operating on me. So these are all developmental lines we can work within the self structure, but it really has nothing to do with me, or me being free. you know, and it sounds like you kind of know that already. You're even questioning whether you should ask the question, you know, and you know, so I think, you know, part of the human experience is to you know, it's like we become kind of a bridge, you know, between that which is outside of time and that which is within time. And part of that bridge is to explore these templates and these different higher aspects of self, you know, and you know, if we want to not suffer on that journey, then we stay awake. We keep enjoying, you know, inquiring into who we are, and the more we know who we are, the more we can enjoy that journey.
I don't have that desire of really discovering who I am too, because it's empty. And anyway, so second part of the question is, with my, as long as I'm in my space, which that is externally controlled my existence, minimizing things. So when I go out and step out and interact with the things, everything starts from outside. And on my own, I don't feel suffering because I don't search, I don't strive. And it's kind of strange place I am at. I'm content with that. However, when I step out and have the conversation, meet somebody, everything starts. And I was thinking, okay, this is a world of suffering. Every corner when I go, it's getting more and more. Like I feel like if somebody is talking something, and I feel like her or his home, job, ego, mind, emotions, so then I get confused and retracting. I lately feeling that, okay, so this, whatever is controlling me is just keeping me content where I'm at, and without doing anything, and I just day by day just go with it. And when I want to do something, everything starts outside. And I have this hypersensitivity from everything, including the water. So
so when you say I, or when you say, you know, something controlling me, you know, what is that me, or what is that?
okay, me is my mortal being. It's actually beautiful to be this mortal mind play sometimes, but I'm very aware of it. It's like a movie. I put the mask, go out, and I'm aware of my mask, aware of others' mask. Then I see a movie of suffering. Everything is connected. It's an illusion, and it's very simple to decode it and jump out of it, but the people cannot do it. And I feel people, it's not one person, and I feel people, so I get overwhelmed. I need to go back under my shell.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my existence, and that I am, that is what I am now, is who is telling control is my human thing.
Mm-hmm.
Attempting to find the answer is my human intelligence is seeking. But I know in the background that nothing is really important. I really don't care. But this is just a conflict and duality where I exist. So okay, so that's the one. And whether it's a question or sharing, but I just brought it up because one way or the other, I don't do anything nowadays without any reason, and I don't know the reason.
Mm.
Maybe people have the same experience out there who's listening, who knows, but this is what I become.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, you know, the world right now, it's an incredible time on the planet, you know. like what I see, the patterns that are in play are, they're reaching a point where like we have more thinking and more egoic activity than ever, in history, and the consequences of that are becoming apparent now on the planet. So when you see others, I look at the world, I see the ego patterns that are in play. So the question is, when you're interacting with people, um, does their suffering cause you suffering? Or is it causing you to have a preference or a contraction in your being?
I feel it's not the archetype is not like a persona, is not really, it's there playing. The unaware of the essence, the soul inside, how it's suffering, actually gives me lots of discomfort. I feel it and I want to help it, but I know that there is a universal rule to follow. So I don't, sometimes it's like even I want to pull it out, explain from the cause to the effect, explain it, what it works and how it works. And there is a bunch of cause and effect laws and etc. If I put it together and pull it, the person wouldn't receive it. And I'm actually interjecting into the karmic cycle. So I usually avoid unless the person comes in. But the point is I'm overwhelmed. My heart is bearing sometimes a very large amount of this suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Not the individual, it's a collective, but I need some time. When I discovered the things last week, for example, I just start to contemplate about this, false happiness, false joy, what we strive in as a civilization, human race. So that gave me when I put the things together, and it takes a couple of days to put it, and I had lots of pressure in my chest. I do care in the civilization, human race, and I do cry. Now I'm emotional. My emotional body is talking. Just want to take them out, but they are not ready to be taken out. So I can't do much. And when I exposed into these things, I am in a suffering because I carry the burdens of suffering too. So I transmute that one through my physical body. So it's hard, my mind body things. I don't have this lots of luxury of human things. I'm becoming more non-human, that normal human what it is. But on the other side, I would say that we all came here to become a human. Mm-hmm. And I think passing that one and becoming non-human aspect of me is very difficult to observe this planet. Mm-hmm. So this suffering, but that is one aspect of me. Another aspect of me is doesn't really matter. It doesn't move. It doesn't have a shape. It's just it is. So I cannot describe what it is. So it's just in control, and I have to surrender to it, and I have to follow what is directed. But my human mind is very strong. I don't follow anything. I just do something. I don't follow any religion or teaching or a tools either. So get lost, but it's okay.
Yeah.
And today I'm in this meditation with these people, and there should be some reason. So I don't question the reason either. Just do it as it is. Otherwise, it's gonna give me another challenge. So
do you feel that it's possible to wake up to an I or a sense of I am that is free of suffering? Do you think that that's something that's possible?
I thought about it, and the service to others under the law of one. I don't know, like that's not my job. I supposedly to feel it and share it. And that this is not my human eye talking. That is the part of the, I think that my purpose for this reincarnation, why I am existing right now. So I want to, my human mind wants to, but I cannot do certain things beyond what it is, because it's just preordained and organized. So I sometimes think that certain things I need to carry on for this life. It's not to become somebody, to do something. I don't have any such a thing. I just need to stay where I am assigned to. So here and there, occasionally, I want to do some human things and go to the retreat or something like that. But it's very, very guided in a way. So,
Yeah, you know, to me, when I hear you speak, you know, I get a sense that like you've explored a lot of things, you know a lot of things, and I think the knowing is, you know, for me the way to realize the truth of who we are is in the dropping of the knowing, the dropping of the knower, and what I mean by that is, there's a recognition of the main delusion of our little self, which is that it thinks that it knows, it thinks that it knows anything, like this life is a mystery, it really is a mystery, like, and to be, alive in that mystery is to be a mystic, someone who allows the mystery to be what it is. So if we're trying to fix it, or if we think we know, we think we're here to do something, or we think we know the layout of everything, then that little self is in control. So not knowing is the gateway to the truth. The truth, the greatest teachers, the greatest masters have said, I only know that I don't know. And so, so when we recognize that, what's left, then if we let go of the mind and its knowing, what remains? What remains when we've let go of all of that? And there's a I don't know what creates that impulse to know oneself, in someone, but there's a point on the path where, it's like we've suffered enough, we're done with suffering, and we want to know the truth. We want to know the truth of what this game is, and who we are. And if you have that desire, it's not an egoic desire. It's not a desire to become someone else. It's just a desire to know the truth. And that's, that's what this path is about. This path of awakening is finding out the truth of who you are, not becoming someone else, but the truth that you've always been. This awareness, or this, I can't say what it is, because it has to awaken. But all I can say is, if that's something, if you sometimes we have to see the suffering of the world and feel it, and it's in that you know, feeling that suffering of the collective and feeling our own suffering. And it's like we look for the truth of what this is about, this game. And, you know, that to me is the beginning of self-inquiry.
I agree, and it's very beautifully said. I questioned just this, like, I know the illusional aspect of this, the purpose and the like mission or something like that. I questioned, and the like a thought, so as that eliminated, that's what I left. And the like pieces, when they put together, that is what it is given to me. But I don't really get into dwell into too much. I really don't care. Since I'm under the control, they have to figure out how they organize and use my physical vessel. So that's how I approach it. Thank you for reinforcing that, like even the like seeing the seekers and the misguidance of these dogmatic different types of guruisms and etc. I do feel it. I want to say something, but like I can't do much except being here. I'm not a person who's supposed to talk and tell something. And as you told, I am actually nobody. And I don't know anything. If you ask certain things, I don't know anything about these earthly things. And human life is very difficult for me and strange for me. And sometimes, time to time, I can get very bright. I can talk very different things. But my other aspect of me is I'm very dumb. So it's okay. I just go along with it. So I don't really desire to be smart or enlightened or like become something and yeah. So anyways, thank you for listening, those who listened, and thank you for that advice as well. And
Yeah.
that was my shared hour and question. And I got the answer. I think my human mind got it. I will think about it a little bit and to see what insights I get it.
Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, I would invite you to really stay with that sense of I, you know, and when you use that word, you know, you said some things about that I, you know, that I'm not smart or whatever it was. What is that I that you're referring to, you know? And I'm not asking you to answer that now, but just stay with that sense of I, you know, am I this, what is that sense of I? And let that sense of I unravel all knowing within the self structure. And, you know, there are greater mysteries to be revealed. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll go to Patrick. Hi, Patrick. Oh, I'll unmute you. Here we go.
Hi, Dan.
Hi. How are you?
How are you this morning?
I'm well.
I'm very grateful that you were able to create this meaningful experience for all of us. This was very touching to me because I just recently emailed you about wanting to come back to the center and creating this experience of no escape for the ego. So
I just recognized who you are. Yes, you look a lot different without your hair. Yeah, very
so
interesting. Yeah,
that's I guess a form of unwiring aspects of the ego was getting rid of my hair, and the eyebrows was the most difficult. I thought I'm just going to look crazy if I get rid of my eyebrows, but now I've become identified with not having eyebrows. So I think it's so funny how the ego mind works. But yeah, I think I mean, this is so amazing. What was coming to mind during everyone's talks and all the questions and your answers is like, this is very similar to spiritual healthcare, where we're all together. And it's interesting because we're not in separate rooms waiting for the doctor to attend to us. We're all together listening to everyone else's manifestation and experience. So it's interesting to like say, oh, you know what, I'm dealing with that. These are some things I went through myself. And so I want to touch up on maybe a couple of things that have really helped me that might help other people as well. And then a couple of questions that I have.
Sure.
So this year has been like a wild experience for me. I don't have much experience in spirituality, meditation, different practices. And I went to the Samadhi Center at the beginning of this year, just in complete fear, not knowing what my future would be, trying to figure out who I am. I remember what I said at the retreat was like, everyone was introducing themselves. And I'm like, I don't know who I am. And the experience was very, I guess we'll say like catalyst for this awakening process. Since the experience, I attended 3 different temples. I never had experience staying at ashrams, staying at temples. These experiences were like very eye-opening to see like, wow, like you can really make a life out of this this entire journey, this spiritual path. But I think that a part of it was still difficult for me because I'm still so limited in my understanding of the bigger I. And a lot of these experiences going to the temple were focused on like the smaller I, right? It's like, all right, my story, this is my conditioning. I have to do the mantra meditations from the level of the small I. I have to interact with everyone from the level of the small I. So there's like this difference, right? It's like I'm not on the level that these people are on, but I'm not recognizing that the big I is just shining through the entire time. So what has really helped me is, first of all, surrounding myself in spiritual communities. That was huge for me. Being able not only to receive teaching, but to be in an environment that encourages the teaching, that encourages the sadhana, that encourages the diet, the dyads, the self-inquiry all together in one. Like that has been a game changer for me. Another one has been massage therapy. So actually having a conversation with somebody who understands the physical body and who can introduce touch into aspects of my body that are unconscious, and like really awakening the, as we'll say, like the dead aspects of the present moment. And as well, going to healing sessions was big for me. I went to one last night, and just being able to have someone pray over the unconscious aspects, it kind of like brings light to them. It's like, all right, they're introducing to you a level of consciousness that you don't recognize at the present moment. So yeah, I don't know if that helps some people that are listening or may listen in the future, is just like really seek out experiences where you can stay at an ashram, wake up at 4 in the morning and have these intense sadhana style experiences, or go to the Samadhi Center. I mean, like from where I was to where I am now, I'd say the experience that I had at the 10-day IM retreat was one of the most powerful and loving experiences that I've ever had, because it was just amazing. Like I remember being in the small I, like going through all of this like dissociation and all of this chaos in the small I, and then the guy, the gentleman seated like 2 people next to me was like, yeah, nothing is happening. Like, and every single day he was like, yeah, nothing is happening. And I'm going through this like this storm of like reliving trauma and going through all these experiences of the conditioned mind. And he's like, yeah, nothing is happening. Like, well, but now I'm beginning to recognize like the truth in what he was saying, right? Like really nothing is happening. And this is just wiring that has resulted due to my poor identification throughout this entire lifetime. So I think that if and when I do go back to the center, it'll be, you know, a little bit more of an advanced experience, but still, you know, just I love that those terms that you used, which were the beginner's mind, which I think is like very fortunate for me. You know, I don't have this wealth of experience, decades of jnana yoga, where I've studied all the different practices, and I really like that term that you used, beyond simple. It's like a teacher who I met this year, she was like, "Oh my goodness, like your mind is all over the place. You just need to keep everything so simple, you know, just like I want you to write down 100 divine qualities, and every day I want you to focus on a different divine quality, and that way that you're able to integrate one of your old emotional states into a newer, higher divine quality." And even still, I think the egoic structure just like wants to make things difficult. It's just like part of what it is, the world we live in. You know, it's like you introduce yourself as like, all right, this is my story. This is everything that I've been through. You know, I'm here because of what my parents did, my education, what I've accomplished. And really, it doesn't shine any light onto like your true nature, which is just, you know, like I am.
Yeah, amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
It's great to hear you speak, Patrick. You've changed a lot in the last year. That's amazing. And so now when you say I am, you know, if I say to you, tell me who you are, who are you?
Well, what's coming to mind now, like shining through the small I, is just realizing like this connection, you know, this connection with the awareness, rather than the connection with what I'm saying, rather than the connection with what I'm wearing, the bodily movements. Like I remember when I went to the retreat, I was so connected with my appearance. Like throughout my entire life, it was just like grounded into one of the denser realms, just like the material manifestation of the true nature, just like my hair, my beard. And when I went to the temple in Montreal, they were like, the first day or the second day I got there, they're like, you know what, you should cut your hair. And I'm like, what do you mean cut my hair? It took me a year and a half to grow my hair out, my beard out. And it took me like a little while I was looking in the mirror with the buzzer in my hand. I'm like, how can I cut my hair? When I finally cut my hair, I realized, yep, like it was like this weight was lifted. It's like, oh my goodness, I was so identified with this this structure, this appearance, and that's not who I am. You know, like this ego of, oh, what will people think of me because of my appearance, because of my I think you mentioned it just recently. You're saying like, can I fabricate a personality that will then be accepted by all of the spiritual communities, and then I can be this this master spiritual, this I guess the word they call it is like Maha, the Maha spiritual master, the great spiritual master who has transcended all other spiritual masters. And I thought of that when you were saying that. I'm like, what would it have felt like, you know, when the Buddha or Jesus or like Shiva, like were going through their like evolution? It's like, what were they thinking earlier on in their evolution? They were like, right, how can I manifest myself to be this great figure in history, and so that everyone else will be able to look to me and my story and everything that I accomplished and the way that I conducted myself and the jewelry that I wore and the way that I made my hair. And then I realized, like, that's so ridiculous, you know. It's not who you are.
No, that's an amazing realization, and I think the you know, a lot of spirituality, it's about the, you know, the ego structure creating that facsimile. You know, it's like what does a Buddha look like? What does a Buddha act like? You know, okay, let's emulate that. Let's start doing, you know, start playing Buddha, and then, you know, but that's not it. You know, it's that conditioned character is it's just what we're inhabiting. It's our interface, but it doesn't wake up. It can look like a Buddha, but it doesn't it doesn't wake up. We wake up from it. We realize. I use the word shining through. I like that. It's like awareness is shining through the avatar. There's a just this primordial presence it's just here, and it's you. And we don't have to look for it. The conditioned self is always wants to figure out what to do on this path, and it's already looking. It's already, you've always been that. And it's like this incredible gift that we have, and we've always had, but we just don't realize that we're already that which we seek.
So I wanted to touch up on just some things, and like maybe a question or two about what I can do as a form of sadhana, but also in a way but once I'm ready to ask the question, but I just want to touch up on this last point first. So I don't know if you see the background that I put up.
Yeah, I see
Human
it.
anatomy. So
Yeah.
part of me was like, all right, when I go to the doctor and I say, this is what's wrong with me to the doctor. Well, what he's seeing is like, he's seeing the skeletal system, he's seeing the muscular system, he's seeing, all right, how does all of these things relate to the symptoms of this person's experience? But from my limited understanding, I say, all right, my stomach's hurting, or, I have pain, I have headache pain. And he actually goes to a more subtle understanding rather than looking at it from the symptoms. So I have that similar experience right now, where a lot of the questions that were being brought up were like very from like the limited egoic perspective, and you're kind of looking at it in the anatomy way of like the subtle body, the subtler body, but realizing that even throughout, I think it says in the description of the koshas, right? Like even throughout, and you use it, I believe, in Samadhi Part 3, even through each veil of Maya, it's still not your true nature. It's still a manifestation of Maya. It's still of the egoic structure.
Yeah.
So I guess the point I wanted to touch up on was like, it is also very helpful to get an understanding of the koshas and getting an understanding of the skeletal system, of the muscular system, because we do have this body for a reason, and it makes life so much easier when we understand it for what it is and not for what our limited perspective. Like I have had my like internet academy days where you're going on the internet and you're looking up all of the different, simple understandings of what your body is, what your mind is, but you don't actually have a clear understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So like an encouragement to myself and to others is like, really study the body, study the relationship that you have with your body, because that will make your practice so much more profound in realizing, and the next picture I wanted to show was, I believe you used one of them in your videos as well. So this would be more of like a Western scientific model, but I love the psychedelic art of the body.
Oh yeah,
So
Alex Gray, I recognize that. Yeah.
The energy of the body. So it's just like going into a more subtle realization.
Yeah.
And if you look up like psychedelic anatomy, it shows like all of these like amazing pictures that you can tell somebody who has had the eyes to see has drawn them.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Alex Gray is one of my favorites. It is Alex Gray, right? This one?
I believe so.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's interesting how in these ancient teachings, like the Upanishads, there are these different levels, and they use different language in different Upanishads. They divide it up in different ways, But I think the important thing is that we allow, sometimes people will get this idea that the awakening, it has to be this kind of transcendent, non-dual existence, and there's a tendency in non-dual traditions to push away the energetic unfolding sometimes that happens within the self structure, and the connecting to these higher levels of self, and the awakening of the third eye and all of this stuff. There's some teachers who are like, no, it has nothing, it's all just being aware of awareness. And so I think the danger is that we can get caught in getting too fascinated with all of that phenomena, and the other side of it is we can push it away or think that there's no value in that as well, in that unfolding of the inner lotus and the tree of life, and the middle way is to fully allow it, but not get fixated on it, or not lose the sense of I in any of that phenomena.
So thank you. I guess I have like 3 questions now.
Sure.
So the first question is similar to what the other woman had asked, along the lines of communicating, I guess communicating what I think I know would be like the perfect way of describing it, to others who I come into contact with, but also being able to create a similar lifestyle to what you have created, where I'm able to not only encourage others, but create a meaningful difference in the world. Like I wanna ask you that question, is like, how did you get to that place in your life where you realize, all right, like I want to create inner worlds, outer worlds, and like the depth of wisdom that you were able to like just supercharge inner worlds, outer worlds, and then develop the samadhi films, and then samadhi part 2, and then samadhi part 3. What sort of clicked, and what would you say really like catapulted you into it? Because I'm sure there was a little bit of maybe not fear, but a little bit of restriction as well, where you thought, all right, maybe I shouldn't create these films, maybe I should create these films. So what point in your journey did you realize like it's going to be filmed, and how did you encourage yourself consistently to do that?
So for me, I would, there was a point, like I had a music publishing company before I got into all of this. So a big turning point for me was selling that company and putting all my energy into what I'm doing. And I think there was, different turning points or different key things on my path. I didn't have any master plan, that's for sure. There was no, I had no huge vision of having a meditation center. When I moved to the property, I had no idea. I just knew I was following my heart, and I just knew I felt like it was where I was meant to be, and that's pretty much it. But the film came from exploring. I had a little meditation group here. A few people would come every day for meditation. I started out, creating like a PowerPoint to talk about meditation, and it just snowballed. It just kept growing, and I kept getting more excited about it. And it just kind of took on its own life, really. I just kept putting energy into meditation, and there was something alive in me around it. But I really didn't have any big plan. It just sort of grew organically by following what felt alive to me in the moment, and that was it. So there was a lot of kind of groping in the dark, it was really not there. Definitely, when I look back now, I see the poetry of life. I see, like I worked for Discovery Channel, learning all of these tools and different things that would help with film. you know, I've done all these different things in my life that seemed not related, but now I see, you know, there was a poetry in all of that. But as I was moving through it, I didn't see that poetry. It felt like I was just kind of following the energy or the aliveness in the moment. And you know, occasionally you get little glimpses of you know, a bigger picture, but you know, so yeah, I just, you know, a lot of it was just being willing to let go of things and, you know, letting go of my business, letting go of the relationships that no longer serve me. And, you know, because those things could have gone on forever, you know, so but there was something in me that knew it was time to let go. And, you know, it wasn't easy, you know, reinventing the you know, the self. I think it's like a spiral kind of. There's these different levels. We kind of learn the same. We learn the same lessons over and over at life, but in different levels of the spiral, you know. And I feel like you know, each level is kind of a letting go of a version of ourselves and to allow something new to come forth.
I love how you said it in your film. I believe it was Samadhi Part 3. You said that humanity is now on the verge of being able to co-create shared new realities together. And like going through that experience of reinventing yourself in a world that most of the ego is set for life. It's like once you've got that hardwiring, you're there until maybe you retire and then you change a couple of things. But really, like, we have that opportunity every single day. It's unbelievable how cells are constantly dying, cells are constantly reproducing, our brain is constantly rewiring itself to all the stimulus that we present to it. So tying that into my next question is, you mentioned that it was a small community that allowed for the birth of the different films. And you also mentioned that it was Vipassana meditation that was one of the most life-transforming practices that you engaged in. How did you begin Vipassana meditation? How did you find it difficult? And how would you recommend somebody beginning Vipassana meditation from your experience level now?
Yeah, so for me, like I was really sick at one point in my life. Like you know, I was in the television industry. My body, my spirit, my soul was trying to push me in a different direction. So I manifested all these physical symptoms, sickness, type 1 diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, and all that stuff. So what drew me to the meditation was, you know, I had a friend who came back from a 10-day Vipassana retreat, and he was glowing, and I didn't recognize him, and he was alive, and I was like practically dead at that point. I had no energy, and I was just kind of desperate. I was like, okay, if this worked for him, whatever this is, I don't even care what it is. I'm going to give it a try. And I knew nothing. I was like an absolute beginner. I went in with a total beginner's mind. I had not even read a book at that point. And because I had a beginner's mind, I had an awakening at that, and I worked through the you know, it was excruciating. I had rheumatoid arthritis at the time. Felt like my bones were burning as I was like meditating. So I went through absolute hell in that experience. But I came face to face with that conditioned part of me that's always seeking comfort. I'd never faced my pain at that point in my life. So you know, so facing that pain, you know, just burning in it, burning off that conditioning and those preferences. So, you know, I would say, you know, for anybody who's interested in it, you know, it'll take you deep into the inner world into the somatic field and free energy. The one thing with Vipassana, the way it's taught at the SN Goenka Center, you know, it's an amazing tool for freeing of samskaras, but they don't have really much of a self-inquiry component. So you you may, if you have an awakening, they're not going to, you know, they have a certain script that they follow as the student teachers there. So the self-inquiry for me came after that, but it was an incredible just purification process. It really prepared me for you know, doing that self-inquiry work that came later. So so I would say, you know, the technique that they give you at that, it's a thorn to remove a thorn. It's not the technique that will lead to liberation. The technique will purify the self structure, but finding out who you are then will become, it's like it loosens the knots, you know, of that tie us to this identification with this form. So it's really valuable, and I recommend, you know, I think everybody on the path, there are really two things that really make a difference on the path. One is having some practice that will take you into the somatic field, you know, and going deep into the inner energy and making the unconscious conscious, you know. So whether that's yoga, breath work, you mentioned massage, or, you know, healing practices, all of that, you know, so something to delve into the unconscious, and then some kind of self-inquiry practice where it's non-doing. There's no technique. There's, you know, it's just being, you know, just a practice of just being and recognizing the truth of who we are, and those two dimensions come together at a certain point. They become really one thing. If you go deep enough into either one, you'll come to the same realization.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really appreciated the guided meditation today. It was very powerful in structuring, like, it was like the one teaching that I needed personally on my specific level right now, and just recognizing, like, all right, I can go to the Samadhi Center, but I can also create this experience where I am. I can go to a meditation teacher, but I can also practice being conscious of the awareness through everything that I do. Like you mentioned, going for a walk, just eating something, constantly engaging that inner aliveness, constantly engaging that awareness.
Yeah.
And my last question would be, let me see if I can find it here.
If you can't.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. You know
That's
what?
okay.
Maybe some other time.
Yeah,
But,
no, if you want to connect through email or whatever, that's fine. And we've actually gone a little over time here anyway, so I think, yeah.
No, I just want to end off by saying thank you. Thank you so much for everything that you've done today, and everything you continue to do for all of us. This is amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, it's wonderful to see you, Patrick. It's wonderful to hear you. I feel like your path, you know, your understanding of who you are has really grown, and it's beautiful to see. So thank you. And thanks everyone. We'll be back. I'll share this on the YouTube channel, and we'll be back next month. So thanks everyone.